The city once called Stalingrad had become a graveyard of smoke and silence. Streets that had once echoed with laughter now whispered only the sound of boots and distant artillery. Snow fell, blackened by soot. The Volga River froze, trapping ships in ice like ghosts of a forgotten time. Among the ruins walked Anya Morozova, a 22-year-old field nurse. Her uniform was torn, her boots cracked, her hands trembling from cold, but her eyes burned with quiet defiance. She carried a small satchel of bandages, morphine, and what little hope remained. Every building she entered smelled of iron and death. Soldiers called her the angel in gray, though she hardly felt divine. Her hospital had long collapsed, and now she worked wherever she could: basements, tunnels, even hollowed-out trams. That morning she found 3 wounded men huddled near a burned bakery. She knelt beside them, wrapping their wounds, whispering, "Hold on, brothers, the dawn will come." They didn't believe her, but they listened. Above them, German planes roared. A bomb fell nearby, shaking the street. Anya shielded her patients, dirt raining down like ash. When the sound faded, she simply stood, brushed off her coat, and continued working. In that city of shadows, mercy had become her weapon. Night descended like a shroud. Anya returned to the cellar that served as her hospital, a half-collapsed shelter beneath a school. Candlelight flickered against cracked walls, revealing rows of men wrapped in torn blankets. The air smelled of blood and frost. She worked without gloves, her fingers raw. Her breath fogged in the freezing air as she stitched wounds, rationed morphine, and whispered lullabies to dying men. They were boys, really 17, 18, some barely old enough to shave. Each one looked to her as if she could stop death itself. From above came the endless rhythm of artillery, the Germans advancing, the Russians refusing to yield. Every explosion made the candles tremble, but Anya kept working, humming softly to drown the noise. At one corner lay a German prisoner, pale, shivering, a bullet lodged in his leg. The other soldiers spat near him, calling him fascist pig, but Anya knelt beside him anyway. "He bleeds like you," she said. "War doesn't care about flags." That night she shared her last piece of bread with him. His name was Eric Bauer, a conscripted medic turned enemy. In the dim candlelight, their eyes met, 2 souls lost on opposite sides of the same inferno. Days blurred into nights and the bombing never ceased. Anya and Eric worked together silently. He spoke little Russian, she little German, but compassion needed no translation. Together they carried wounded soldiers, rationed water, and buried the dead when no one else could. One morning, the ceiling above them cracked open after a nearby shell hit. Dust and bricks rained down, crushing their supplies. Anya was thrown to the floor, her arm bleeding. Eric pulled her free just as another explosion followed. When she woke, she saw him sitting nearby, his head bowed in exhaustion. For a moment, she saw not an enemy, but a man, terrified, broken, human. Outside, the city screamed. Buildings burned like candles against the gray sky. Eric looked at her and whispered, "Krieg ist Hurl, war is hell." She nodded, understanding without words. In that ruined basement, they found a strange peace. 2 medics from opposite worlds, saving lives no one would remember. But peace in Stalingrad was fleeting. That night, Soviet troops discovered Eric. They dragged him outside at gunpoint. Anya followed, shouting, "He saved lives," but they didn't care. Orders were clear: no mercy for invaders. As Eric was taken away, he turned once more, eyes calm, as if to say thank you. After Eric's arrest, silence filled the cellar. Anya continued her work, but the music in her heart was gone. She wrote by candlelight on a scrap of old newspaper, a letter to him she knew would never be delivered. "They say you were my enemy," she wrote, "but in the ashes I saw your soul, as tired, as kind, as human as mine." Around her, the war dragged on. Supplies ran out. The wounded stopped coming because there were no survivors left. The Volga burned at night, glowing red beneath the bombs. She kept the letter in her coat pocket, a secret warmth in the endless cold. Each day she told herself she would survive, if only to remember the names of those who didn't. Then one morning, Soviet soldiers arrived shouting victory. The Germans had surrendered. The Battle of Stalingrad was over, but for Anya, victory felt hollow. Too many had died and the city itself was a grave. She stood outside for the first time in months. Snow covered everything, white over black, silence over screams. She pressed the letter to her chest and whispered, "May peace find us both." Years later, long after the war ended, Anya returned to the rebuilt city now called Volgograd. She was older, her hair streaked with silver, but her eyes still carried the weight of that winter. At the edge of the river stood a memorial to fallen medics, names carved in stone, hundreds of them. She placed a small flower beside it and closed her eyes. A gust of wind scattered snow across the steps. She thought she heard voices faint like whispers of the dead. Among them she imagined Eric's voice, soft and distant. "Dank." She smiled sadly. "Spasibo," she whispered back. The world had moved on, cities rebuilt, flags changed, but inside her, the war never truly ended. It lived in her memories, in the faces she had tried to save, and in one small folded letter still kept in her coat pocket. The ink faded but the promise alive. As she walked away, the sun broke through the clouds. For the first time in decades, she felt warmth on her face. Above her, the sky was no longer crimson, but pale blue, the color of peace.